Everybody, welcome back to Watch and Carry. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to change out the battery as well as how to remove the stem on this Casio edifice. This is the EFV-100D series. It also comes in a blue and a white. This is the black that you see in front of you. So not too difficult here. We're going to start by removing the bracelet. So you can take your spring removal tool and locate your spring bars here and push inward on one spring bar and then just kind of prop it out like that. Set that spring bar to the side and repeat for the other side as well. If you have quick release straps, it's fairly straightforward. So we got our bracelet off there. Okay, then what we're going to do is go to the back of the watch, and you'll notice that this particular watch has a screw down case, which is really, really nice, especially for this price point. And you'll also notice that the crown, which is located over here, is a screw down crown. So we would screw this out like that. Okay, so both of those are pretty cool to find on a watch, on a budget watch. Okay, we'll push the crown back in, screw it back in. And let's go to the case back. You'll notice there are some small indents around the sides here. So what you're going to do is take a tool like this, okay, and I'll put a link down below. This tool came with metal teeth from the factory. I went ahead and replaced the teeth with hard plastic for obvious reasons, so less chance of scratching the case back. But you'll go ahead and adjust this with the wheel till it lines up with two opposite side indents right there. Okay, so let's get a little bit more light. There we go. Now, this watch has been, or case back has been removed a couple of times already, so it's a little bit easier now to remove. I will say it was pretty difficult from the factory to remove this. So if you are having a hard time getting a good grip, okay, so, or if you're having a hard time turning this, one thing you can do is use a silicone mat like the one I have here. Okay, obviously your watch should be on something soft so it doesn't damage the glass on the other side. This will provide a little bit of grip. Next, you can go ahead and hold the watch. Of course, don't hold the watch by the crown area for obvious reasons, okay? So you can go ahead and kind of grab it here by the lugs or in between the lugs and use it as grip to kind of turn and secure it that way. If that still doesn't work, there is another tool you can buy, which is this. This basically is made of hard plastic, I believe, but basically nothing is metal here except for the screws. So it is safe to basically insert your watch face down, tighten the screw on the side so it pinches onto the watch, and then this will give you something nice and beefy to grab onto while you use this tool to kind of remove the case back. And then fourthly, what you can do is instead of this tool, which is pretty cheap, you can get a more traditional and proper case back removal tool, which has teeth like this that are adjustable, but it comes with a lever. It almost looks like a socket wrench. So with a longer arm, you're going to get better leverage, which means more turning force and torque on that case back. So a few options to play with. Just the key there is make sure whatever you're putting your watch face down on is not going to scratch it. Okay. So we'll remove this case here. Okay, turn anti-clockwise. Okay, once you feel like it's pretty easy to turn, you can remove that tool, and you can either use your fingers or you can just use a toothpick to kind of put in one of those notches and unscrew this case back. Now, I'm using all plastic tools or all non-metal tools for this job. I've seen people do it with metal tools and have no issues, so I'm not really sure what the word is on metal or non-metal when opening up a watch. So let me know down in the comments, but we're using plastic and a toothpick for this particular job. Now, with the case back off, you'll notice that there is going to be an O-ring, or there should be an O-ring here. Take note of that. Kind of examine it. If it looks dry, you can go ahead and lubricate that. Now, if you're going to lubricate, try to use 100% silicone oil. I think the reason behind that is there are some oils out there that actually eat away at plastic parts, like you see here in the watch module. So silicone oil is one of those that does not. So you want to use that. But keep track of that O-ring. Now we've got our watch open. I'm going to orient this with the crown facing to the left. I'm going to take a toothpick here, and I'm going to call this the 3 o'clock position or 6 o'clock position. We're going to lift up gently on this plastic part here. Okay. And then with that lifted up, you can kind of lift up on the inside. And then at the same time, try to pry up on the right side. Now the right side, you'll see, has a little shelf here. Okay, so that shelf kind of digs into the 3 o'clock of our orientation right now. So you kind of want to lift like this and then lift out like that. Okay, we're going to take that white piece of plastic out. Let's start with the battery first because that's pretty easy. So you'll see the battery here is a specific type. So you'll need to order this or find this at your local store. So SR927SW, this particular one is made by Sony, but I've used a non-Sony brand. In here, you just want to look for that code at the top and get that exact size. Okay. Now, with the battery, you'll notice that there's a small metal tab here at the bottom that is part of the watch module. And that metal part is almost on top of the battery. It's almost like gripping that battery. So you don't want to just yank this off straight forward. You kind of want to pull from this end first, like pry this part up first, and then lift in this direction. So I'm going to take a plastic toothpick here, kind of wedge this underneath like that. Kind of pry up gently like that. You see that? And then once that end is pried up, you can kind of pop the battery off. There's that metal tooth I was talking about. Just want to make sure we don't bend that. So once you get the battery off, grab a brand new battery, and you're going to do the opposite of inserting it. So you're going to put it underneath that metal tooth first. And then once it's underneath that metal tooth, then you can push down on this top side here, like that. Okay, and before you screw down the case back, turn it over and just make sure your watch is working, because it would be a bummer if you put in a dead battery and you have to do the whole thing over again. Okay, then once your battery is in, you'll take the white shroud again. Look for that cutout in the white shroud, and that should be facing towards your crown. You're going to put that little opening gap in between the crown, or actually, I'm sorry, go to this part first, the shelf. Insert that end in first at an angle like that. Okay, once that's in, then you can go ahead and push down gently on this side where the crown is and the stem. Just make sure that the gap in the shroud is going to the left and right of the stem. You don't want to push down on the stem, obviously. Okay, that should lie flat. Okay, and once that's in, you should turn it over and make sure that the white plastic shroud is flush. Sometimes the right side, because it has that little shelf, has a tendency to pop the right side of the shroud up higher than the left. So you just want to make sure it's flat. And then you'd go ahead and take your case back. Make sure that O-ring's inserted and reinsert this back. Okay, now I'm going to do that later, but because I want to remove the stem, we're going to go on to the next part of this video, which is removing the stem. It's a little bit trickier. Okay, you don't have to remove the battery. I'm pretty sure you don't have to. I'm just going to remove it anyways, just to open up our work area. Okay, now when it comes to removing the stem from this watch, you want to look for the setting lever, is what I believe it was called. So this particular watch has a movement. So depending on the watch you're working with, if it's different from this, you can try to research that movement and see where is that setting lever located. For me, the way I did that was I took apart the case back, as you can see, and then I looked over here in the back, and let me see if I can do this one-handed. Grab a flashlight for you. Okay, you can see right there it says 2 joules S Epson Core VX65E. So even though this is a Casio watch, this is an Epson movement. So once you get that movement name and model number, you can go to the movement's website, type in that model number, and then download a specification sheet or a technical sheet that will show you the different anatomical parts of the movement. And one of those parts should be the setting lever. Okay. Some of the more popular watches, like the Casio Duro, have tons of YouTube videos on how to do the stem removal, so you probably don't have to go through that process I just mentioned. This one, I could not find anything online or on YouTube, so that's kind of how I located it. I also want to thank Roel and Larry Guo off the Custom Casios Facebook group, who kind of helped point me in the right direction of how to get these things located to get the stem off. So also access your local Facebook watch groups because they can be really, really helpful. Okay, so once you've located that lever, so according to the technical manual, here's the crown, here's the stem, and the lever is actually located right here. Now, right here seems pretty specific, but there are so many moving parts here. So what exactly am I going to do, and what do I locate? So you want to go ahead and, for this particular watch, have the crown unscrewed. So we're going to unscrew the crown first. Okay, and that's considered now the home position. If you pull the crown out one click, you're now in the date position. That's where you can adjust the date. If you pull it out one more click, you're in the time position, which is where you can adjust the time. Okay, the time is the furthest out position. We want to be in the furthest in, okay, where turning this does nothing to the date or the time. Okay, once you've done that, you're going to zoom in. Okay, if you have a really good magnifying glass, that's going to help you a lot. Let's see if I can get it on here. Okay, let's see if I can just take the phone off. Bear with me for a while I try to make this clear for you. Okay. All right, so crown, stem, this yellowish part that looks like a U, okay, I believe that's called the yoke. And then right beneath the yoke, right here, you'll find the setting lever. It's going to be silver colored for this watch. So once you find that setting lever, it's going to have a very small dimple. You can see that the dimple is kind of shinier in the middle right there. So once you find that dimple, you're going to take something very thin and skinny. Some people use a pin. I'm using a hard plastic pin. You're going to push down on that dimple gently while simultaneously pulling out on the crown. Once you feel the crown start to remove easily from the module, you can release pressure on the setting lever, take that off, and just pull the crown out the entire way. Okay, so I have to put my phone back here. There, that's a good picture of it. Okay, you can see right here, we have that yoke, and then we have this setting lever here, right at the tip of my toothpick. And then right here, you see how there's a black hole? That's the dimple you want to push down on. So I'm going to grab my hard plastic pusher, and I'm going to apply just a little bit of pressure on that lever. And then while I'm pushing down with that, I'm going to pull out with my other one on the crown. Okay, So now that the stem is pulling out, I can remove my pin on the right and then gently remove the stem. Okay. This particular stem doesn't look like it has any O-rings, but just be aware if you have any, so that way you don't drop them or misalign the arrangement. And then that's pretty much it. Okay. Now to reinsert, you're going to take your stem again, carefully insert it through the case, and then carefully insert it into the watch module. Okay, once you feel that it's in there, you can put a little bit more pressure inward, and you're gonna go ahead and listen for a click. 1 or 2 clicks, okay? Once that's clicked, go ahead and try to pull out the crown into position 1. Turn the watch over and turn the crown, and that should adjust the date. Try to pull the crown out to position 2, and this should adjust the time. Push it all the way back in. Turn it, and nothing should happen. So that tells me that we're in the correct position and the stem is fully inserted back into the module. Okay. All right, once that's done, okay, you're going to do the reverse. We're going to take our battery, put that back in, take our shroud, insert the 3 o'clock position at an angle first, and then make sure that we're not pinching down on the stem. Push the white shroud flat. Take your case back, okay, lubricate it if need be with silicone oil. Reinsert that back around the case back. Hand tighten first. The reason I like the hand tighten is if you're using a tool like this or the larger lever tool, it can be harder to notice that you're cross-threading. So once I hand tighten this, I know that I am not cross-threading. So I'm going to hand tighten it as hard as I can. Then I'm going to move to my tool. Okay, and turn. Make sure you're not grabbing that crown. And just tighten, not too tight, just enough for it to feel secure. Remember, most of that water resistance is going to come from that O-ring anyways. So, okay, we're going to turn the watch over. Okay, we're going to push in our crown and screw it down to make sure that still works. Okay, so that works well. We're going to unscrew. Okay, try to turn the crown, nothing should happen. That's home position, go to position 1. This should adjust the date. Okay, it looks good. Position 2, this should adjust the time. Okay, and looks like we're good to go. So that, and then reinsert your spring bars and your bracelet as needed. Just make sure that you're orienting your bracelet in the right direction, because some people like to kind of pull the clasp from this direction. Others like to pull the clasp from this direction. So it just kind of depends on your preference. But yeah, that's a quick look on the EFV-100D, how to change out the battery and remove and reinsert the crown. Again, big thanks to those members on Facebook for helping me out. Definitely check out that page, by the way, on Facebook, Custom Casios Group. Lots of great and cool information on there to check regarding not only this watch, but other Casios as well. And any comments or questions, please put them down below. And as always, have fun, and we'll see you guys on the next one.